It's about as good as it gets.
Good afternoon or good evening. This is Bruce, aka the guy in the blue shirt, as I'm known here on LinkedIn. My method is all about simpler, faster, better. So Denise and I already talked a little bit about that in terms of our little warm up, and we were chatting about the things not to do in networking and community building.
Mhm.
So I know we're going to touch on those. So Denise, over to you. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, and you are literally glowing tonight. I love
Oh, well, I am glowing. I'm a little shiny.
it.
So I am from Houston. Well, I'm not actually from Houston. There's a long story behind that, but I currently reside in Houston. And I've been here for 20 plus years. I love it. I am in software sales, but I also build my community and my network here on LinkedIn, of which I love. And there's a whole story with that I hope we can share in this
Sure.
hour together. But I have two kids. I'm an older mom. I turned 50 this year. So I have,
Wow, you
yeah, and
don't.
I have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old.
Awesome.
So yes, so and German was my first language, in case anyone doesn't know. So I speak the language fluently, although it's very remedial. Other than that, that's about as exciting as it gets. Softball every weekend right now.
You know what? That's pretty exciting. You have a lot of firsts there, to celebrate, and good on you. And yeah, I noticed one of your hashtags was sass. So it doesn't actually mean a character of sass, but it actually fits you real good. So
A little bit sassy.
absolutely. So it could be a double entendre word. You could say hashtag sass, and the technical people in the world that you service so well will
Mhm.
understand it one way, but maybe the more lay people like myself will understand it. Well, you're just sassy, or got a
I
touch of
love it.
authentic sass about you. So yeah.
I love it. That's awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, you're welcome. So yeah, a little history. So a little token about how real community building works. I engaged with you on cross-populating on different people's posts, and then you were kind enough to invite me on to one of your Zoom call meetings, which I jumped onto, and I loved it. And I know that was earlier on in some of your experimentation around building a community and what works for you and what doesn't work for others. So yeah, this is a great testament to, if you do it right, if you build the community right and you build on the relationships and not trying to transactionally pitch everybody for everything that you have. We know it's good stuff. We don't need you to pitch us on good stuff, right? So, and then from that, we chat a little bit, and I said, "Hey, how would you like to be, a live guest of mine?" And you said, "Yeah, sure. We got lots to share." And that was a few months ago, and here we are today. And it's interesting because in the posting today, I got to meet another mentor of yours indirectly. So talk about some of the things that you've seen have worked well for you, particularly in the last few months, because I know you've been bold and experimenting and figuring out what works best for you. So
Yeah, so I think I'm still figuring that out. I have not become the expert on what works for me, but the difference between me and someone else is that I still keep trying different new ideas. So one
right.
of the things, for example, was I hate video because I don't personally love the person looking back at me because I got to see that person, right? I got to see myself in this frame. And I'm not 100% loving what I see, but the reality is that it's not that bad. And once you get used to it, it's kind of fun, actually. And so I really challenged myself to put videos out there. And I started doing videos almost every single day. Now, it does help that I paid for a content coach to help me. He challenged me, but
Uh-huh.
that was something that I wanted to do to invest in myself. So that worked a tremendous amount because people got to see the real me. And the real me is not perfect. And, my eyes will wander. I use my hands a lot. I will make some funny jokes that make no sense at all. But I want to make people laugh sometimes. And they get to see that side of me that they wouldn't normally see if you're just writing content versus producing a video. So that is what's helped with me for me is just trying different and new things and figuring out what resonates most with the people that I'm networking with.
Absolutely. So I'm similar to you. 2.5 years ago, I wouldn't even do a selfie. I hated it. I went out of my way to find a guy that was actually a generation below me in age. And because I want to, you know, I didn't understand all this digitization. I was a pure analog, meet in person, you know, press the flesh kind of guy. And I used to do that as and when I could, because if I did too much of it, it would just drain me completely, because, you know, I'm a behavioral introvert, but I like to tell people now a highly trained extrovert, and, you know, so you can learn the tools and techniques that work for you, but not everything works in the same way for everybody else. And I think what I've seen in you is the fact that you are bold enough to try new things. But, you know, we were kind of teasing you a little bit about your how you glow. I mean, you've glowed with the flow. I mean, you have really gone with the flow and figured out what works for you. And then the other thing is, I was an interesting thing. I was talking to Alexander Rosso through a lot of comments this week, and we do occasional Zooms, and we do a lot of direct messaging and texting. And I was trying to come up with a really good way of describing what it is you need to build. And she said, why don't you use Jive Hive? So I'm all about jiving with other people, and I want to spend time with that. And then she mentioned the hive because, you know, honeybees are attracted by honey. So wouldn't it be great if we could actually have our own Jive Hive and attract the people that we want to be in our Jive, and not worry about all the myriad of all the other people that are not going to be in our Jive? So I love that. And I already told her, hey, I'm going to steal that. And I've already started using it just to get familiar with it. And it feels pretty good. It feels natural. It feels natural to me to want to spend time with people in my Jive Hive and not worry about, you know, all the other, you know, the rogue bees that belong to another nest, or, you know, the wasps that are there just to try and annoy the bee. You know, we don't have to worry about all those people. So Jive Hive is my new initiative, thanks to Alex. So thank you.
I've written it down. It's
yeah.
Gonna be a hashtag. She's going to have created a hashtag. Jive Hive.
You know, I don't know. I know her hashtag is spice. She's all about spicing up her daily life with her program of holistic medicine. So that's how I know her. And anyway, Philip Davis said, hey. Yes. Hey, Philip Davis.
Hey, Phil.
Yeah, he's amazing. I love him to death. I wish I had all his smarts when I was his age. It's like, I would be like unstoppable now.
He is pretty amazing. He and I he is kind enough that he spends every other week with me. We just chat at the end of a day, usually on Tuesdays. This week it was today. And we just catch up on how things are going, what's challenging for him, what's challenging for me. It's really a lot of fun. I'm super blessed to have people like him in my network.
Well, and that's a great testament to, you know, how collaboration, not competition, really works, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if you're collaborating and not thinking about it as competition, you're going to be far more successful than if you are thinking about competition. Because here's the reality. If you think about anyone as competition, you're already thinking negatively. Negativity breeds negativity. If you can think positively and think about how you can collaborate and work together, then you're already breeding and fostering positivity, and that radiates, and that will bring you more positive opportunities and experiences and people your way.
Right. So you said that word radiates. If you don't follow Nancy Burrows on Radiating Real, then, and I got 2 weeks ago, I got the luxury of sitting down and meeting Nancy in real person, in real life. We actually had dinner, and that was, I've been a digital
that makes
friend.
me want to cry.
It was a digital, you know, she was a digital friend for a couple of years. And so, you know, that's the whole point about collaboration, right? Is those people that, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I love Nancy. I have a story I could share about Nancy, but I really love her.
Well, see, I'm so lucky because she was voluntold by 𝒂𝒊𝒃 to be a guest of mine. And I was actually the first person to ever interview her on LinkedIn Live. So it's like, so it was like a full circle moment. You know, we went from her being really not sure, but didn't want to let Raquel down, and she did it. And look at her now. I mean,
she's amazing.
I mean, talk about a freight train on the right line, right?
She is really, I mean, I did a post not too long ago. I think it was before International Women's Day, because
Hmm.
I didn't want to recognize her twice because I had some other women that I wanted to recognize too, but it was sometime before that. And she has really been probably the biggest positive impact for me because we share some commonalities from our
Right.
childhood.
Hmm.
And she has allowed me to, her and Brian together have allowed me to be in this space that has put me in a position where I can feel comfortable being vulnerable and being my authentic self.
Hmm.
And you don't get that a lot with a lot of people, right? They put on a show and they want you to be, they are who you think they want you to be, and they're not their authentic selves. And I'm getting twisted. I can't even talk, but she is one of those people that I admire
All
a
right.
lot.
Well, let me help you out. See, so Brian Schulman, he was the first person that really, really challenged me about the whole picture thing and definitely video. So I literally almost ran into Brian Schulman. I didn't know he was doing LinkedIn live streaming when it was just the beta. He was a
Mhm.
beta tester, and he was live streaming during the LinkedIn in-person local in Los Angeles when Diana Nguyen came over to speak. And he was there, and I almost, as I said, because he's a slider gentleman, very powerful energy. So I almost ran into him, and he turned the camera and he said, "Hey, Bruce." And I'm thinking, how does he know my name? Well, I got a badge on. So, like, duh. And he said, "Hey, Bruce, this is LinkedIn video." He said, "Say something."
That's awesome.
Yeah. I'm just like, and then he moved on because I didn't even know what to say. And it's like, I was just shocked. Anyway, fast forward, Brian Schulman has helped me a lot behind the scenes, and Brian's so giving. And since him and Nancy and Tim all partnered up, I've seen them develop. And then the other funny story with Brian is my 100th live. I invited the people that had really, inspired me and helped me most, and Brian was one. And I was flying into a rural part of Portland, and we were running late. So I started my 100th live stream in the back of the Uber.
That's awesome.
And then the other funny, the Uber wasn't sure because it was on what they call a flagged driveway, which is an unmarked driveway. So he dropped me off at this house, and I'm doing this live stream in somebody's driveway. And Brian said, "Hey, do you want me to call the cops and just tell people, hey, there's this strange guy doing a video call in your driveway. Is he real?" So anyway, fortunately, I was in the right house. The host was really understanding, but yeah, I did about 30 minutes of my 100th live stream in somebody's driveway in the middle of rural Portland. It was like amazing. So
That's awesome. Brian is one of those men that I love. My husband, there are a handful of men that I can say I really love, and he knows that. And I say them out of pure friendship and just, and not anything more than just for what it is. And Brian's one of those people that I love. In
yeah,
a very short amount of time between Nancy and him, I have become a more authentic Denise because of those two.
yeah,
It's pretty
absolutely.
amazing.
I can definitely tell you I've become a more authentic Bruce, and there's a lot more to come. I'm still experimenting also like you are. So we have that in common. It may not seem that way, or people think, oh, well, you've got this down, Bruce. It's like, no, I don't.
You're always trying something new. You should be.
Yeah. Otherwise, if you don't grow, you're going to die. And
Exactly.
to be
On the
blunt,
vine, fast.
on the vine. Yeah. Great grapes often die on the vine, and they never got to make good wine, so
No.
I don't want to be one of those. I mean, I used to whine, but it was me. That was whiny, not wine. So, all right. So, great observations about what works well. So let's talk about timing, because I know you and I get played with the transactional pitch slappers all the time, and promising, may wave a magic wand and I'll do this, this, and this for you, and you'll be an overnight success. So let's talk about timing and what it really takes for people that may or may not be aware of, you know, what it really is like to build a meaningful, collaborative, relational community here. So what have you found, Denise?
I think it's going to be based on each individual. And I say that because it depends on how much time you're willing to invest in it. So when you're building a community, you don't have to present great content all the time, but you do have to be out there. You have to put yourself out there. You got to attend LinkedIn Lives and comment. You have to comment on other content from other people that post. You have to DM. You have to make sure that you're engaging in some form or another. If you're not doing that, then yes, it is going to take you longer than the average person. But if you can spend an hour or two a day, just even commenting, you don't even have to post your own content. You don't have to create. I mean, creating's great. And there's only 2% of the LinkedIn community that creates. So if you can create, that's even better. But if all you do is comment and spend 1 to 2 hours a day commenting, and that's easy to do. You can just do it in between a conference call or during your lunch while you're putting some food in your mouth or at dinner or right before you go to bed. I mean, an hour you can consume in a very short period of time. Right. And if you can just do that, you will go so far. And they have to be meaningful, thoughtful, purposeful comments, not just, hey, great post. It has to be engaging so that they're going to come back and say, that's a great thought, Denise, or come back with a question, or you ask them a question and they come back with an answer. So it's really about the amount of time that you put into it. That's what you're going to get back. It can happen really quickly for some. We've seen some who jumped in and had a post that went viral and immediately they were at, 30,000 followers. That's not the norm. Right. The average is going to take you, if you're really good at it, it's going to take you 6-12 months to really build a good, solid network of all of those that you trust. So I now am a little over 5,000. I don't really know what the number is, but I don't know every one of those people.
Right.
But if I were to get concise and get to know every one of those people, it'd take me a while. Right. Yeah. So it's, I have a small network still. So you can choose go big or go small, but it all depends on how much effort and time you put into it. You get back what you put into it.
Yeah, it's absolutely right. And actually, I will redirect you on a couple of things. Okay. Meaningful, thoughtful commentary is content creation.
It is. You're right.
So people very often overlook that. The other thing is you are not going to be liked or sync up with everybody. So just take that. That's just part of the traffic along the way.
Have you had your first? I'm sure you've had several experiences that you weren't too.
Yeah, I've had some so bizarre. I probably no, I don't want to talk about it. Pretty bizarre. But what you did describe, and this is, I'm all about working in threes. That's why my method is simpler, faster, better. Mm-hmm. That's why when I help people look at saving time, all they got to do is remove or eliminate wasted steps, time, and money. So the key thing about building a collaborative network that is going to end to that jive hive of really, really, truly meaningful connections, it's 3 steps. It's show up, it's engage, and the magic formula is follow up and follow through. And unbelievably enough, a lot of people do steps 1 and 2 pretty good.
They do 3.
They do not do number 3. And the cool thing about that is that's actually, for me, that's actually a meaningful metric. Because if somebody says, oh yeah, Bruce, I'll do this, this, and this, and they do not follow through, then guess what? I really don't want them in my jive hive because they're not going to be consistent with my deliberate, purposeful 3-step process, which is I show up, I engage, and I follow through or follow up. Now, follow up and follow through is not for everybody. And I think that's where unfortunately, that's where people fall into the trap of doing robotization or automation.
Automation.
That is the worst thing you can do. If you automate, your follow-up, follow-through processes, stop doing that. Just stop, because what happens is you lose the context of the personality. Secondly, you lose the whole point of why you're following up and following through, because it's got to be consistent with, okay, well, I showed up and I engaged, and what am I really following through on and following up on? And if they're out of sync with each other, then people smell unauthentic, right?
That's what I was going to say. It lacks authenticity when you start to automate, and they can sense that. They know that.
Oh, you can see it a mile away. I mean, it's funny because I had some pitch slapping incidents this week, and from a particular lady who
we talked about this.
Yeah, she called me rude for giving her feedback. But what I was trying to say to her is that the script she used was almost exactly like I'd seen several times over. So I said to her, hey, you know, you may not be aware of this, but this script is being used. And she swore blind, no, it's personalized and all that. And then in the way that she followed up, she got very offended by the fact that I'm trying to say to her, that's not the way. You're not even connected to me. You're not following me. My guess is you didn't do any research on my content, and you want me to consider looking at buying something from you? I mean, come on. You know, like, which planet are you on? Yeah. And then she said, well, she's super experienced. It works all the time for her. So I said, well, good luck.
Well, and that's usually because we talked about this. It's quantity over quality, right? Sure. Right. If you dial 100 people in one day, you're going to get 2% to actually respond, right? And engage with you. So yes, you're going to see success, but how many people did you have to go through to get to that success?
Right. Well, and the other thing is I understand there's sales quota numbers. You know, I've been on this planet and in business enough to know that, yes, that's a metric and it will drive that transactional short-term behavior. However, you got to decide, do you want just a transaction tomorrow or do you want a lifetime customer, right? Mm-hmm. If you want a lifetime customer, then you have to invest some of your effort and time and resources in earning the right to be a lifetime customer.
Agreed.
Right. And that's what, unfortunately, that's where the sales cycle gets out of sync with the reality of what's happening very often here on LinkedIn. And then people get offended because, you know, they think you're trying to be critical. And it's like, not trying to be critical. I'm actually trying to help you.
They don't get that, though, because they're still back in the old school. And really, I would say, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Bruce, but before COVID, no one really liked to be cold called or pitched the first time, but they were more receptive of it, I would say. But once COVID hit and we started this working from home and starting, you know, the only way that you could really engage with others was through video and connecting, and you longed to make a connection because you were stuck at home and isolated. And so this whole notion of cold calling and pitching someone in the first call is no longer acceptable. People don't want to hear that anymore. So they didn't love it before, but now they don't love it and they're not going to accept it anymore.
Right. Well, what people don't realize, I don't think, is that they actually ruin their reputation quicker and over a shorter cycle time than if they just hang in there and do the right thing right and not be driven by the numbers and the metrics around, well, how many contacts did I make today? You know, it's not about how many, it's what is the quality and what is the fit between you and what, you know, the connection might need, or what problem are you going to try and help solve for that connection. And that's the other thing. That's what drives me nuts. If I can tell already when I'm going to be pitch slapped from a new connection. That's why I sent them a note. I said, hey, just want to be upfront. I have everything I need right now. So, you know, if you want to follow my content, I would love that. And I ring their bell. So people may not. Do you know what ringing somebody's bell is? Yeah.
Yes, I do. That's why I have the bell, because for a long time, I wanted the capability to ring people's bells, but I wasn't part of the beta program. And I would call out LinkedIn on every single moment or comment or post that I possibly could and say, I really want to be able to ring that bell. So as soon as I got the ability to do that, I put the bell in my name.
Right. Yeah. So the benefit of that for people that may not know that are watching this is that it's actually a way of subscribing to your favorite content. Content producers or content commenters. They may not be original content producers, but they're still producing a lot of meaningful and insightful and supportive comments in other people's posts. So yeah. So you can ring somebody's bell. It's in the top right hand corner of the page if you see it, and then the other thing I would say on that is make sure your settings are set up correctly to allow you to subscribe as well, because I just helped somebody the other day with that, because I could ring their bell but they couldn't ring mine, and there was a setting thing under the visibility, somewhere in the visibility or the accessibility. So lots of settings on LinkedIn to make sure you're maximizing who you connect with and how you connect with them, and are they going to be in your jive hive, and if they're not, it's okay.
It is okay, because they say right now there are 750 million people. In the next 2 years, I think the prediction is they're expecting over 2 billion people to be on LinkedIn. So
Right.
if you haven't found your jive hive yet, you're going to find them. They're out there somewhere. And if they haven't joined yet, they'll be joining in the next few months.
Yeah. So just to let you know, that number's about 860-ish million, I think, the last time I checked. So it's on an exponential growth rate for sure. Not on a straight line. It used to be on a straight line pretty predictably way back, but now it's on this, on this curve that's going like crazy upwards. But yeah, of course, percentage wise, we are going to attract attention from, the transactionals and the pitch slappers, and they're not going to change, because as long as it works for them at a low percentage level, then they're getting the numbers and they're getting the results, and well done.
Well, I think some of it too, to be honest and fair, is sometimes it's driven by their employers.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
sometimes it isn't really the choice of that individual. Sometimes it's that organizations, there are a million companies out there that have still yet to adopt the new way to sell. They are still back in the old age where they believe dialing for dollars is the way to do it. And unfortunately, you can dial for dollars, but you're not going, if you're going to pay someone in the six figures or a high salary in general, you don't want them dialing for dollars. You want them building connections so that you can build long-lasting strategic relationships.
Yeah, lifetime customers. And when you get a lifetime customer, make sure you knock their socks off every which way you can.
Exactly.
Even if it's solving a problem that you don't really solve, it might be somebody else. It might be that you have to refer them out to somebody else, and that's the other beauty of collaboration, is that you never know who you're going to get referred to. So, I have a great interview the guys from the kidney trials several months ago, and fast forward to 6 weeks or so ago, one of them reached out and said, "Hey, would you be, a panelist or, a coordinator for one of their guests?" So I happened to know, and I said yes. And so, I got the opportunity to do that. It's a new experience for me. It's going to be virtual and digital, but you never know. So it's about, making sure you also work with the right people who understand what you do. And then down the road, if you did a good job for them or help them or feature them like I did on a LinkedIn Live, and I got asked to be a helper behind the scenes with one of their guest speakers. So, love it.
Referrals are important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I used to say to people, the greatest thing you can do is train somebody to sell for you.
Mm-hmm. That's what we call a champion in the business world, right? Someone who can sell for you when you're not around.
Yeah. And also defend your reputation when you mess up as well. So
yes, because we all mess up. We are all human.
Imagine that.
Mm-hmm. We're not perfect. Doggone it.
Darn it. God darn it. All right. So let's so what we've skated around some of the no-nos. Is there any other thing that you've seen that you should not do to build a collaborative community?
Yeah, I think one of the things that think I feel like sets me apart. Maybe it doesn't, I don't know, but I feel like it does, is that you shouldn't just push the connect button. You should actually personalize your message. So go on to their profile page, look at what they posted, see what's most recent that catches your eye, that intrigues you, that interests them or interests you, or look at just some of their activity as it relates to their interests, not necessarily what they've posted, and comment on that when you send a LinkedIn request. So if you're on a laptop, you can use ask to just connect, and then you can click on the personalize. If you're on your mobile phone, you have to go to personalize and not connect. If you connect, it'll connect you right away.
Right.
But what you want to do is just personalize every message, because if you don't do that, what you risk is building a true relationship. People will then potentially click on you, but it's like when you sell software. If you just give a software solution for free, so you bake it into the overall solution that you're selling, but you're going to give them some enhanced capabilities that they didn't ask for, they're never going to use it. No matter how much, it's harder to sell them after than it is to sell them before. So if you start at the beginning and you introduce yourself, let them know why you want to connect with them, they're more apt to connect with you and actually engage afterwards. If you just connect, then they may or may not connect. But if they do, you're less likely to have any meaningful conversation or engagement with them going forward.
Right. So I have a slightly modified version to that. Is number one, I make sure I'm in creator mode so that the first option is for people to follow me. And even if they don't have it set that way, I will go the extra step to go down through their menu. And I will typically follow somebody for a while. And then after following them for a while, if I may immediately ring their bell or I may not, but after a while, I will sometimes go back, particularly if they post or comment on something that, captured my eye and attention and was interesting to me for whatever reason. And then I will ring their bell. And then I'll often have people that I'm following or I see their content for several months before I will then actually, and it's something that they may say, or it might be something I've been working on that captures a mutual interest. And then it's at that point in time that I will personalize the message and say, I mean, it's like for yourself, I reached out to, is it Catherine? No, who
Carolyn.
So it's like today, I saw the commentary you were having and I realized, oh my goodness, Carolyn's a really supportive, great network. I'd been following her stuff for a while, but I hadn't really seen kind of the dynamics in the way that she communicated. It's like, oh my goodness, I'd like this lady in my Jive tribe. So again, I didn't assume the note I sent to her. I said, hey, I saw the conversation. Thank you for supporting Denise, and if you'd like to, I'd be honored to have you in my connection. So I left the choice to her. It's not me saying, hey, please connect with me and you gotta connect with me. It's up to the other person.
That's somewhat the same mentality that I take when I build and personalize a note. But I think like you, I will accept almost any connection. For some reason, I have not yet gotten good at just saying no. I say yes, but I don't ask to request to connect with just anyone. I'm very much like you. I want to make sure that if I'm connecting with someone, there's some meaningful reason as to why. So I will say today, for example, there's a great person who I just adore, and she continuously shouts out people that she likes in her community. And so she's been doing this for weeks. And I just decided it was time for me to connect with some of them that she shouted out. And I'm honored that she even includes me in her list. So it was a very different, I'd seen their name a million times. Well, millions extreme, but I'd seen them a lot, right? And I'd seen them comment on some of her posts. But my personalized note to them today was more around, hey, we're in the same network. I've seen you several times. Honored to be in your, named amongst one of your names. If you would love to connect, please connect with me. And I look forward to engaging later. And I've gotten several connections today just from that. And when you look at, and before I connected, I went and looked at if it was really worth it for me, like is there some commonality between the two? Is there a relationship that we can build from here? And once I recognized, I would also mention something that I'd read. I also commented on something that they had posted before I even attempted to connect so that they knew who I was.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think all of that's really important. When you're building a connection, it's making sure they see you and they know you, because not everyone wants to connect with everyone. Not everyone says yes like I do.
Right. Well, slightly modified version. I used to do that. I've stopped doing that. So I actually decline probably 30 to 40% of people that want to connect with me, but I follow them. So I might decline the connection, but I want to follow them for two reasons. I want to see what is it they're actually posting or engaging about. And on the selfish side, I want to see if they actually know how to know that I followed them and then follow me back. Because that's the other thing. A lot of people, if you don't do the weekly review of who's reviewed your profile, there could be people out there that might be long lost connections. There might be people that are shy. There might be your actual ideal client sitting there. And if you don't review who viewed your profile in detail each week, then shame on Bruce, shame on me, right? And that doesn't mean that you're still going to go back and reconnect. But what I do is those that have viewed my profile that I might have missed, or I'll look at them, I will at least do the courtesy of following them back. So that's, and to me, that's kind of evens out the playing field. They've taken the time and energy to look at me and follow me. So if they're in my Jive tribe or Jive Hive, I used to call it tribe, Jive Hive, then I'll follow them back and see what happens. You never know what can happen when you do that too.
And people, that's a missed opportunity looking at your profile, who's viewed your profile every week.
Right.
Because there are a lot of people who are like Facebook. They are we used to call them Facebook stalkers, right? They're LinkedIn stalkers, right? They're just afraid to comment, or they're not comfortable, or they're afraid they might lose their job because they're on social media or whatever it may be. Those are the people who probably have more interest than some of the ones who are actually commenting. They're just lurking behind the scenes for right now. And you potentially miss an opportunity if you don't go see who's viewed your profile. Now, does that mean you need to connect with every single one? No. But what it does mean is you should just look at them, see if they're meaningful, and you can even reach out to them with a personalized note and say something like, hey, if you want to connect, great. But more importantly, you viewed my profile. Is there something that you saw that was interesting? Is there anything I can help you with, or something that I can be of value to? And you can spark a conversation from that. You may not connect right away, but you may spark a conversation, which will then lead to a relationship or a community down the road.
Right. And then the other thing I look for is any themes. Is there, if I look across a weekly view, is there a pattern of either industries or job titles that are showing up? And if so, that's great. Then it gives you some idea of you're creating a chord or creating a moment of interest in different areas, and they become the themes. And most weeks is pretty random, but some weeks I've picked up on patterns, and as a result, I've led me to not only follow somebody but ultimately connect with somebody, and they become strong connections. And yeah, so to finish up on that, I'm not in the numbers game. I don't really care how many followers I have. What I care about is on a weekly cycle, I spend time with about 18 to 20 meaningful connections in some way. Now, it's not always the same 18 to 20 every week, because I cycle through, obviously, based on what they're up to, because, their frequency of posting might fall off or whatever. But inside of that, though, I've got my premier, absolute core, meaningful connections. And right now I'm focusing on those that are physically local to me. So if you're in my Jive Hive and I've met you a few times in person and we're continuing to build our relationship, then heck yeah, I'm going to support you until you tell me to stop supporting you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's the way it should work, because that will lead to other in-person meeting opportunities. And then the last thing I've been doing is, because I've been purposely traveling to different regions, is when I will search on people that are in the region that I'm traveling to, and I will pick, say Nancy Barrows. I didn't ask everybody in the LA County area to meet me. She was one of two. Actually, she was one of three people that I reached out to a couple of weeks before I was going there and said, hey, is there any way we can meet one-on-one in real life? Because we've not been able to do that. The other two people, it was a second meeting. So, or third meeting. So, yeah, so that's a very powerful thing, is if you really think you jive with somebody and you're going to their region, give them a heads up. Give them notice that you're going to be around, and is there some way you can meet somehow, even if it's just for a walk in a shopping mall? It doesn't matter.
I agree, because we don't have that touch, that personal touch anymore since COVID, or at least not as much as we used to. And so thankfully today, interestingly enough, I talked about the one post where, she mentions me all the time, and I feel so honored to be in that group of mentions. And I reached out to one of them. She lives here in the Houston area. Now for Houston, she's like an hour away with traffic. I mean, that's a long time.
Well, same in LA County, there's 16 million people in Los Angeles County, and I drove 6 hours from Tempe to meet her first. So, so.
Yes, but we've already talked about meetings. So it's fun when you get to build those connections, whether they're strong or just, I have, like, similar to what you have, I have 3 groups. I have like my diehards that I make sure I try to go visit their posts every chance that I get. Then I have those that if I get a chance, I'll go to for sure as my second round. And then I have my third round of people. They're the ones that, if I get a chance to, because we're all so crazy busy, I'm going to stop by and try to see them. But my first 2 columns are the most important.
Yeah. Focus on the core, and the core will take care of the rest.
And the core does take care of you when you need them. When you build a community here on LinkedIn, you'll be surprised at how many people will show up for you.
Well, just before I called you this afternoon to make sure we were okay on the setup, I was texting back and forth with actually Tisha Marie Pelletier, and that's exactly, I had a question for her that I couldn't get answered. So I text her, and within 4 hours, she got me the answer. But more importantly, she got the guy to call me that I really needed the answer from. So, unbelievably responsive and helpful. So, yeah. Just
because people want to help.
Yeah.
And they don't have the chance to these days like they did before. So they want to help even more today because they want that help. Absolutely. And, when you give it out, you're going to receive it back.
Right. Yeah. So in Tisha's case, I already said, hey, she's running an event on Tuesday. And I said, do you want me to come early to help, or anything I can do, anything I can bring? She said, nope, she's good. So, but, at least I thought to do that. And I know the event will just be delightful because of, just making sure that if there's anything I can do to enhance the experience for everybody else that might be going to the event for the first time, then that would be great. Great for everyone.
That's awesome.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So last little thing, what have you got coming up that people would want to follow you for?
Well, so I do quite a few little small things, but where I'm super excited is in the AI space. And AI, for those of you that don't know, is artificial intelligence. It is the future. And quite honestly, if we're being realistic, it's been here for a long time. You just don't know that it has been. So I am starting morning CAF AI chats on Wednesday mornings at 7:30. For the short term, I will try to do them every week for 30 minutes. And the goal is for everyone to network together. So I'm going to do a Zoom, and I'm trying to connect it to Restream so that it'll go out.
Oh, cool.
I'm working on that, but I haven't been so successful just yet. But anyway, the plan is that you get to introduce yourself and you get to share a little bit about what you do so that you are networking at the same time, but it'll be kicked off with a theme. So originally it was supposed to start this Wednesday, but unfortunately my guest got very sick And so we had to put it off, but it was going to be about responsible AI. So if she's well, we'll kick it off with what is responsible and ethical AI, because people have a fear of AI, right? They think of Big Brother, and I don't want them to be afraid of it because it's here to stay anyway. You might as well embrace it and learn all the fun things that you can actually do with AI. So my objective with the CAF AI chats are to one, network, but the other is to educate the common people about what AI is and how to best utilize it to their benefit so that it can be fun and exciting and something that people look forward to rather than dread.
Right. So a little history context there. I actually got involved with AI in the early 90s before it was even called AI. And I got the opportunity to actually work inside of a really big distribution center that was partially robotic. So that was kind of unheard of in the 90s even. And what that distribution center did is it actually overnight, when they weren't picking product to load onto trucks overnight, what it did is it defragged the warehouse and all of the racks and all the products, and all of the stuff that was selling fastest, they brought it to the front of the warehouse, and then they put the slow moving items way in the back of it. And that was all done with these robots overnight while people were not on duty actually loading trucks. And it was amazing because the following morning you come in and the first couple of hours they were filling orders like twice, 3 times as fast, because everything that they needed was right there in the front of the warehouse, right close to the trucks, and robot went off and picked it and put it straight in the truck. It was amazing.
That is so cool. See, that stuff excites me. That's exciting to me.
Oh, and you know what was even more exciting was I got to go back when, you know, it was in what they were called twilights, and listening to the robots working on their own with the lights off in the distribution center. It was fascinating. They were hiss and click. You know, it's like they were talking to each other, and these robots were running around moving product all over the place with absolutely no human intervention at all. It was amazing.
That's very cool. I wish I could have experienced that, because that would be cool.
Well,
now there's still similar use cases that they're using today. Predictive maintenance, like looking to see proactively if something's wrong with a vehicle or an airplane or a train or a track, or so that it saves customers thousands of dollars and time, because every time that you are delayed, that costs the business and the consumer money. And the faster you can make, the faster that you can process items, whether it's a delivery of a service or a delivery of a functionality, or if it's just simply diagnosing whether or not you need to take a truck out of the routes and get it fixed and get it back on, that all makes the customer experience far better than anyone else. So if you're not adopting AI today, you're going to be left behind in the dust. So that's why I kind of like talking about AI.
Sounds like my language: simpler, faster, better.
And better, exactly.
Yeah, eliminating massive amounts of wasted steps, time, and money. Except
not automating so much that it becomes impersonal.
Absolutely. Still got to keep the personal, that energy. All right. Perfect timing. I'm going to do my little outtake video. Don't go anywhere. Thanks so much for being my astute and wonderful guest. It was a joy.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll say goodbye in a minute.
So, what if your processes do not work well? Did you know you can save or eliminate massive amounts of wasted steps, time, money, or other resources? Bruce can show or teach you how. Take the next step. Visit his website at processcleanup.com and book a casual yet confidential call with Bruce. It just might change your world forever.
That's my AI.
I love it. Awesome.
Well, I couldn't always remember to do my outtake. It's like, oh, and then I would say all the wrong things at the wrong time. It's like, and then Gracie Ruth Melendez and Trina Poole, we collaborated and came up with that outtake video.
I love that you acknowledge her at the end too. That's awesome.
Yeah, and Gracie Ruth Melendez actually put all the visuals together. She was helping me at that point in time, but Gracie's doing bigger and better things herself now, which is awesome. You know,
That's great.
Great testament to collaboration and then growing out of, and it's okay to grow out of initial collaborations into different collaborations. So
It is. That's part of the growth process.
absolutely. All right. Well, thanks so much. Again, if you're watching this as #replay, you can comment still. You can ask questions still. You can ding Denise or I for any DMs, or just help us spread the word on, you know, what to do, and more importantly, what not to do. So
Yes,
right.
thank you for your time, and I appreciate the opportunity.
All right, just hang a minute. Good night, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.